The sun crept over the valley, its first golden rays touching the dew-covered rice paddies like a gentle hand. The morning was quiet, save for the soft tinkling of wind chimes dancing in the breeze. Inside a small house, Harisu was carefully cleaning his old blue bicycle. With a white rag, he wiped down the frame, his movements focused and deliberate. He took out a small bottle of oil and squeezed a few drops onto the chain, which made a satisfying click-clack sound as he worked the pedal with his hand. Outside, his grandmother was hanging clean white sheets on the line. They snapped loudly in the wind, like small sails catching a gust. She turned and saw Harisu, a warm smile on her face. "Harisu," she called, her voice kind, "get some eggs from Mrs. Sato, okay?" She handed him a small, woven basket. Harisu nodded. Basket. Soon, he was pedaling down the familiar dirt road. The wind rushed past him, ruffling his dark hair. From his point of view, looking down past the handlebars, the world was a beautiful painting of endless green, fields under a vast, brilliant blue sky. He passed an old stone shrine, weathered by time, where a plump ginger cat was curled up, napping peacefully in a patch of sun. A little further down the road, Harisu stopped at the village shop to catch his breath, and that's when he saw her. Girl was sitting on a bench, her head bent over map across her lap. It was Sakura. Harisu felt his hand tighten on the bicycle handle. His heart gave a little jump. Just then, Sakura looked up and saw him. She gave a small wave. Harisu, are you busy?" Harisu felt a blush creep up his neck. "I'm just going to the farm," he managed to say. Sakura pointed to her map. "I'm looking for an old waterfall," she said. "Do you know it?" Her eyes were bright with curiosity. Harisu glanced at his bike, then at the empty basket. Grandma was waiting, but he looked back at Sakura. "I can show you," he said, his voice softer than he intended. "It's on the way." And so, he found himself walking his bike, with Sakura walking right beside him. There, two small shadows stretched out long on the path ahead as they left the open fields behind. They entered the forest, and the world changed. The bright sun was filtered through a thick canopy of leaves, turning the air a cool, emerald green. The sound of rushing water grew louder and louder with every step. The air was damp and smelled of cold stone and wet moss, with ferns dripping water onto the forest floor. Harisu pushed aside some tall, leafy branches that blocked the path. "It's right through here," he said. They stepped out into a hidden clearing. Before them was a secret waterfall, pouring down a rock face into a crystal-clear turquoise pool. Sunbeams cut through the trees above, shining down like golden pillars into the misty air. It's like a dream. Skrasperd, ere wide. She ran to the water's edge and dipped her fingers into the cool, clear surface. Small ripples spread out from her touch. Harisu watched her from a distance, a shy, secret smile playing on his lips. Just then, a brilliant blue kingfisher bird dove into the water with a tiny splash and flew away, a flash of sapphire against the green. Sakura turned back to him. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small candy wrapped in shiny gold foil. "Thank you for showing me this place," she said, holding it out to him. As he took the candy, their fingers brushed for just a split second. It felt like a tiny spark of electricity. They sat together on a mossy log, the sound of the waterfall filling the silence between them. A single white butterfly fluttered down and circled around Harisu's blue bicycle, which he had leaned against a tree. Harisu looked down at the golden wrapper in his hand, a warm, happy feeling spreading through his chest. After a while, he remembered his errand. "We should go," he said quietly. "Grandma is waiting for the eggs." When they arrived at Mrs. Soto's farm, chickens scurried around Harisu's feet as he carefully placed fresh eggs into the basket. Sakura watched him, a small smile on her face. On the walk back toward the village, they heard familiar voices shouting, "Harisu, where have you been?" It was Kenji and Takeshi running toward them. But they stopped short when they saw Sakura. Their faces broke into mischievous grins. "Oh, Harisu is on a date," Kenji teased, poking Takeshi in the ribs. Harisu tried to look annoyed, but his face was bright red. Sakura just giggled. "He was just my forest guide today," she explained. The four of them ended up at the small candy shop. With its sliding glass door and shelves lined with glass jars of colorful sweets, they all decided to buy ice pops. The sound of tearing plastic filled the air. By coincidence, both Harisu and Sakura chose the blue soda flavor. After a few bites, they looked at each other's blue-stained tongues and burst out laughing. They sat together on the steps of the old stone shrine, eating their treats under the warm, golden sun. After a while, Sakura stood up. "I have to go help my mom unpack now," she said. Harisu stood up too. "See you Monday, Sakura. See you Monday." She called, walking away with one last wave. Harisu watched her until she was out of sight. By the time Harisu got home, the sun was a giant orange ball sinking behind the hills. The sky was a breathtaking canvas of fiery red and deep indigo. He found his grandmother in the kitchen, the rhythmic tap-tap-tap of her knife on the cutting board a comforting sound. She was making omurice, his favorite. "I'm back, Grandma," he said, placing the basket of eggs on the counter. Grandma smiled, her eyes twinkling. "You look like you had a good adventure," she said knowingly. Harisu sat down to eat. Grandma had drawn a little heart in ketchup on his omelette. The warm food tasted like pure comfort. Steam rose from the plate in the cozy glow of the kitchen lamp. Outside, the crickets began their nightly song, welcoming the darkness. Later, in his room, Harisu pulled a small wooden box from under his bed. He carefully placed the golden candy wrapper from Sakura inside. It was his new treasure. He opened his sketchbook, wanting to capture the memory of the waterfall. He drew the turquoise pool and the mossy log, but it felt incomplete. He realized the drawing looked much better with two people sitting on the log. Ase sketched, the full moon row, its reflection shimmering like a mirror in the flooded rice paddies outside. A single firefly drifted in through his open window, its soft glow blinking in the dark room. Harisu watched it, feeling a new, gentle rhythm in his life, a rhythm that had started that very morning. From outside, his grandmother's house was just a warm, yellow light in the window, a tiny beacon under a vast sea of stars. And as the forest hummed its low, steady summer song, Harisu fell asleep, a small smile on his face. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.